This is the tragic story of Stella Berry, a 16-year-old Australian student. Stella wanted nothing more than to experience a one-of-a-kind moment, but fate had other nefarious plans. The girl was dragged beneath the surface by an aggressive shark, and she sadly succumbed to her gruesome injuries. Hit the subscribe button and remember, always be safe. This is Fierce. It was February 4, 2023, a sunny summer day in North Fremantle, a suburb of Perth, Australia. 16-year-old Stella Berry was having a beautiful day with her friends. The group of teenagers were enjoying the warm rays of the sun and the cooling water of Swan River. The atmosphere was greatly improved by their jet skis. The teens were having a blast, racing and laughing. At some point during the day, they even spent magical moments jumping from a nearby traffic bridge rope swing. Everything was great, just perfect for the teens and sunny personalities. At 16 years old, Stella Berry was the life of the party. Her laugh was infectious, and she was nothing but happy, vibrant, and quick-witted. Stella had her skipper's ticket and often took friends out on the river for a day of surfing. She loved the beach and the river, so spending a day at Swan River was far from unusual for the girl. The Swan River estuary flows through Perth. It's a significant part of the city's culture, providing the perfect environment for several water sports, such as rowing, jet skiing, surfing, sailing, and swimming. But Swan River is also a place for modern humans to get in touch with nature, or better yet, to remember nature rules all. The river creates a stunning contrast against the skyline of city high-rises. There are over 130 species of fish, including everything from brim, blowfish, and sharks. There are also dolphins calling the river home and making an appearance every now and then, stunning swimmers. On the afternoon of February 4, 2023, 16-year-old Stella Berry and her friends were relaxing near the Fremantle traffic bridge. The bridge links the suburbs of North Fremantle and Fremantle. As the teenagers soaked in the sun, enjoying summer, Stella spotted something in the water. She watched in awe. It was a pod of dolphins, swimming freely, not a care in their world. Their beauty was astounding. In all fairness, it must have looked like a painting. In an instant, Stella Berry shot up and alerted her friends. She wanted to go swim with the dolphins. It was an exciting plan, maybe a little bit crazy, but nothing unheard of. Stella and one of her friends got on the jet skis and rushed toward the dolphins, passing through the bridge. They stopped their jet skis near the beach. Then Stella jumped into the water, intent on swimming with the pod of dolphins. She had no way of telling what was going to happen next. The river was brown and murky. Its opaqueness made it impossible for the girl to see what was lurking in the water. It wasn't like Stella was completely clueless about the usual dangers posed by Australian waters. Not only was she a generally intelligent young woman, but she also had a particularly impressive understanding of the ocean and its sharks. Back when she was 10 years old in 2017, Stella was featured in a local paper for her design of a shark-free ocean pool for Perth's Cuttesloe Beach. Her project was presented to the city council after great white sharks had been spotted in the area, and the city prompted an open call for ideas. Being ambitious and smart students, Stella and a classmate developed an impressive design and garnered praise from officials over the assignment. But perhaps her knowledge extended to the ocean. Perhaps Stella didn't know the river was as dangerous as the ocean, with hungry creatures waiting for the opportunity to strike any prey. And surely a 16-year-old swimming alone in murky waters away from shore does qualify as prey. Stella Berry didn't get too far away from her jet ski. She never reached the dolphins, never got to swim with them and create a magical, perfect moment. Instead, something big, something with huge, sharp teeth, grabbed her leg. Pain engulfed her. The water turned red as the shark kept biting the girl. Stella thrashed and tried to get away from the creature, but it was no use. The noise of her erratic movements caught the attention of several people on the shore. One of them, a local man, bravely jumped in the water and managed to get Stella on the sand. Her friends watched in shock, traumatized by the terrible state their friend was in. How was it possible? One minute, she was her usual self, laughing and joking around, and the next, there she was, gravely injured, bleeding out on the beach. Paramedics were called, but despite their best efforts, nothing could be done to save the 16-year-old student. Her injuries were horrible. Stella Berry was declared dead at the scene at about 6 p.m. A day of fun turned into a tragedy. After the incident, other people at the river were warned against entering the water. 16-year-old Joshua Banks and two of his friends had been swimming and jumping off for about an hour in that area. They had actually seen Stella approaching on her jet ski, but they had no idea about the attack. Were it not for some friendly locals, they would have returned to swim there. Friends and family tried to make sense of Stella's untimely death. Her whole community was shaken by the loss of such a promising young woman. It was the first fatal shark attack in the Swan River since 1923. Matt and Sophie Berry, Stella's parents, were devastated by the huge loss. They said in an official statement, "Stella was a vibrant and happy girl with plans of living in Europe after school. She was a caring person and was a dear friend to many across a variety of schools in the area. She had an infectious laugh, which we couldn't help laughing at too when we heard it. She was a beautiful and loving big sister and the best daughter we could have hoped for." On Sunday, a day after the attack, some of Stella's friends gathered on the banks of the river near the spot the girl was attacked. They remembered their beloved friend, crying and holding each other. Two of Stella's friends vowed to carry out their friend's wish and run a marathon in her honor and memory. Authorities declared that it was unusual for a shark to be that far down the river, but not impossible. This time of year, sharks are in the river more than normal. It's the breeding period. The females move into the river and the males chase them, said Professor Coulomb Brown, the director of higher degree research biology at Macquarie University. Authorities also admitted that while a great deal has been done to prevent shark attacks in the ocean, the river was another matter. Western Australia Premier Mark McGowan declared that implementing flying helicopter patrol isn't possible on the river because the water is brown. Other measures are being considered, such as shark barriers, which form a fully enclosed swimming area that prevents large marine creatures such as sharks from entering the area. If you're being attacked by a shark, experts advise you to always fight back. Don't look away from the animal and use your strength and size to your advantage. Since the shark's nose, eyes, and gills are extremely sensitive, you should hit those areas hard. The worst thing you could do is play dead, because sharks are known scavengers and won't say no to an easy meal. It was 2020, and Jimi Partington was doing what he loved best. The experienced diver and shark expert was out in the Pacific Ocean, getting ready to make history. And since history is always better when there's evidence of it, Partington wasn't alone. On the contrary, he was part of a team of wildlife enthusiasts and filmmakers. Their goal was more than clear. They wanted to film an unprecedented documentary about sharks, especially great whites. And if things went according to plan, Jimi Partington would soon come across some real-life jaws. While most of us can't imagine seeking out that kind of danger for any reason, be it pleasure, fun, or science, many people love seeing and experiencing the danger from afar by, let's say, watching chilling videos on the internet or TV specials. But someone has to film the footage. Jimi Partington and his team had big plans for their documentary. They wanted it to be a part of Discovery's iconic Shark Week. Shark Week started out as an effort toward shark conservation and educating the public about the creatures. But over its more than 30 years of airing, the Discovery Channel programming block has become a hit, a fully fledged phenomenon. Shark Week is broadcast in over 72 countries and is promoted heavily on all types of social media. With this kind of promotion, audience, and reputation, Shark Week always has to be bigger, better, and more interesting than the previous year in order to survive and satiate shark enthusiasts. That's why filmmakers and daredevils get together to create magic and capture the most extraordinary footage out there. As Jimi Partington and his team knew, there's nothing that fascinates the public quite like great whites. Ever since Spielberg's Jaws hit the theaters in 1975, The world has created a whole array of stories and mythologies about the creatures. That's not to say the stories are completely unfounded, if oftentimes exaggerated, but there's a reason great whites have been elected as the boogeyman of the ocean. These sharks are large, with the largest preserved specimen measuring over 19 feet in length and around 2 tons in weight. Besides their gargantuan measurements, great whites live long lives, up to 70 years or more. They can swim with speeds up to 16 miles per hour and can dive to depths of 3,900 feet. When it comes to these sharks, almost everything is a superlative. But one of these superlatives in particular makes humankind completely fascinated and terrified by this species. Great whites are responsible for the most recorded human bite incidents. To us, they are the monsters lurking beneath the surface, ready to strike and take us down, both literally and figuratively. It doesn't matter that, according to scientists, humans are far from the preferred prey of the great white shark. This species will kill us if given the chance. Jimi Partington and his team undoubtedly knew everything about the statistics. They knew the risks, and yet they ventured out on the ocean. To Partington, it wasn't exactly a choice. This was his life, his passion, the thing closest to his heart. Over the years, Partington had worked alongside some of the most talented and respected photographers, filmmakers, and marine biologists in the entire world. He was a dive instructor and a marine photographer himself. His work took him all over the world, and that's how he became a shark expert. Partington knew a lot about sharks and their behavior, but things were about to change on that day in 2020. For the first time in a while, Partington was about to be taken by surprise by a shark. It was almost time. Partington and his team didn't know what the ocean had in store for them that day, but they were willing to wait and see. The filming crew, led by Shark Week veteran, executive producer, and director Jeff Kerr, stayed on the boat. Drones were at the ready. A camera had been submerged. Other cameras provided multiple angles of a particular stretch of ocean. The focus of the cameras? Jimi Partington himself, dressed in full diving gear, including a snorkel and flippers. But Partington wasn't diving just yet. Instead, he was inside a protective cage, a small and clear plastic box. Part of the cage was submerged, allowing Partington to gaze down into the endless depths without being in the water himself. The ocean wasn't particularly restless that day. On the contrary, it was quite still, its color a deep blue. As Jimi Partington crouched down at the bottom of the cage, he could see a shoal of fish swimming underneath the cage, undisturbed. But there was a much bigger fish approaching, one that Partington could see all too well, and so did the drones, filming astonishing footage. There it was, a huge great white shark slowly approaching the cage. Partington could do nothing but watch from inside the clear box and hope the strong plastic was enough to keep the huge shark at bay. The creature was indeed huge, about 16 feet, all teeth and slimy skin. It swam gently, seemingly more interested in the shoal of fish than in the human watching from inside the plastic box. Then the animal began circling the box, getting closer to it. Partington moved his head and body slowly, carefully studying the animal's behavior and cues. Every now and then, he'd come to the surface and communicate with his team. The boat was only a few feet away. In fact, Partington's cage was tied to the boat in order to secure it. The man was crouched down at the bottom of the cage when the great white swam right beneath it, right beneath him. Partington made a slow move as if to pet the shark. The animal swam away, then proceeded to circle the cage again. Then it bumped into the cage gently, again and again. Partington told the team the bumps have definitely been deliberate. It was as if the shark was assessing the cage and the man inside it. The situation deteriorated slowly but surely. The shoal of fish became restless, swimming in a flurry beneath Partington's cage. The shark picked up its speed, swimming aggressively under and around the cage. At this point, Partington was completely taken by surprise by how close the shark came, but nothing could have prepared him for what came next. The shark seemed to swim away from the cage before changing its course back toward Partington. This time, it came from below the cage, swimming up with great speed and determination. When it reached Partington, the creature opened its jaws and clamped them around the cage, breaking it open and capsizing it at the same time. People on the boat started screaming, shouting at Partington to swim toward the boat, but the man was momentarily overcome by panic. He tried to climb onto what remained of the cage, away from the terrifying predator which was still lurking. Partington struggled in vain to get on top of the cage. With the great white so close, he suddenly realized he had to make a break for it and just swim back to the boat. Luckily, Jimi Partington made it to safety in one piece. The footage was included in a documentary called Great White Open Ocean and was posted online as part of Discovery Shark Week in 2022. We were able to capture this encounter on film, and it's probably the most spectacular sequence in Shark Week history. It's also miraculous because when Jimi was hit by the shark, he didn't get a scratch on him. He actually had to swim for his life back to the boat, but he was fine, said Jeff Kerr, the film's director and producer. Jimi Partington himself shared the footage with his online community. "I can't wait for you all to see my incredible journey, including the closest I've ever been to a great white shark," the diver captioned an Instagram post.